Hey everybody, I'm Adam Biggers of FanRagSports.com and burning the midnight oil, so to speak. It's a late Saturday night, about 11:30, and as of right now, Ben Braden, the only one of 19 eligible Michigan players to have either been drafted or made an agreement as an undrafted free agent, and we're going to cover it all. It's been a long day, so excuse me, I'm a little slow. I feel like draft day has been one just really long day. So I can't imagine what it's been like, for the players to have waited and stuff like that. So I'll cover some guys who went a little bit earlier than I expected, some guys who didn't get drafted that I expected. I covered the first two rounds in a previous video. I'll briefly go over that. But I'll cover most of, the rounds 3 and then 4 through 7, obviously. So let's start off. Where do I say? Jake Butt. Jake Butt, huge steal in the draft. John Elway even tweeted that. John Elway, obviously Broncos legend and in management. He said that he was waiting, that, they were hoping for Butt to fall in the 5th round. So. And I want to note a lot of those reports, the figures and everything, like the $543,000 for the insurance policy, and Jake had clarified it himself in an interview. So I don't know if all those figures are exact, but I mean, he did make some money by sliding to the 5th round. And of course, getting injured in the Orange Bowl. It probably had to have made his stock plummet a little bit. But at the same time, he said there were no regrets. And this is something that he told us. Afterward, this is something that I read today as well on NBC Pro Football Talk.com. So Jake Butt, I think, is a tremendous deal going to the Broncos in the 5th round, 145th overall. He had a draft grade of 5.7, and all this information is coming from NFL.com. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. Taco Charlton, he went in the 1st round, 28th pick, highest graded Wolverine entering the 2017 NFL Draft, as I had mentioned in the previous show. J.U. Chesson, he's to the Kansas City Chiefs, 4th round, 139th pick overall, 5.5 draft grade. J.U.'s from St. Louis, so just across the state in Kansas City. He could probably run to St. Louis, I guess. He was pretty quick, so okay, bad joke. Anyway, Jeremy Clark, he is a guy that went. I thought that Jeremy would be undrafted free agent, minicamp, invite sort of guy, given the history of injuries, right? Well, evidently I was wrong. The New York Jets selected Jeremy in the 6th round. He's a cornerback, 197th overall. Jeremy had a draft grade of 5.1. Amara Darboh in Seattle. And Seattle's like a little reunion, I guess, of Michigan players, and former Michigan players and people from Michigan. I'll get into that a little bit. But Darboh went in the 3rd round. I figured he'd actually be like a 4th rounder, so a little bit earlier. 3rd round, 106th pick overall, 5.6 draft grade, and again to the Seattle Seahawks. Ben Gedeon, now he is a guy that, I believe he was like the number 18 or number 19 ranked inside linebacker on Walter Football. I was looking at mock drafts the other day. He went in the 4th round, 120th overall, and this is not a knock on Ben. I think Ben is a great player. He really progressed. What I'll remember most about Ben, not only is hard hitting as a linebacker, but as a true freshman, special teams hit. I forgot who he hit, but he nailed an Ohio State guy, and that was just a huge hit. He came from in pursuit, 15, 20 yards, and just leveled the dude. So that's something I always remember that Ben, and that's something I remember Don Brown talking about. Ben's a really high motor guy, and his teammates had said the same thing too. But 120th overall, fourth round. I was a little bit surprised. So he goes to the Minnesota Vikings. So good job there. Ryan Glasgow, now he's a guy 4th round. I figured that'd probably be his range, 4th, 5th, 6th. Why not just say 4th through 7th? But 4th, 5th, 6th, I guess. So he goes to the Bengals, defensive tackle. Delano Hill, another Michigan guy in Seattle. He went in the 3rd round, 31st pick in that round, 95th overall. He's a guy that went much earlier than I expected. I thought Delano would probably be like a 6th or 7th round guy, maybe even undrafted free agent. So Delano, and with that Seattle, Michigan connection, there's Frank Clark, former defensive end from Michigan. There's Thomas Rawls, former Michigan running back, transferred to CMU. Central Michigan. So he's there. And then you have Malik McDowell, and I really like that pick. Seattle grabbed Malik McDowell, despite the concerns about his coachability and stuff like that. I think he is at his highest level. I think he could be an All-Pro player. I mean, when he's playing at his peak, he's an elite defensive lineman, and he can vary too. I mean, you could put him on the nose, move him over, depends 2-3. So he's a good guy, I think, to have if you're Seattle, and let's see what happens. But also then Delano Hill, like I mentioned, so it's kind of like a little mini state of Michigan reunion. I was joking a little bit with Thomas Rawls' mom Deirdre on Facebook, and she said she had talked to Thomas, and he was quote over the moon when he heard that Amara and Delano were coming along, because those were he knows those guys from Michigan. So Amara and Delano both 5th year as well. So Jordan Lewis, third rounder. I figured he might be 2nd rounder. I mean, I'm kind of surprised, but not all that surprised. So Jordan going to the Dallas Cowboys. I thought Seattle, and I believe Seattle had 2 chances to get him in the 2nd round, and it just didn't happen. So Jordan Lewis, and this was a really deep defensive back draft. So a lot of people were talking about the tight ends, but I think at the last count it said there were 47 or 48 defensive backs drafted, and I mean that's a lot. And I mean I think I was counting 19, 20, 21, something like that went before Jordan Lewis. So that was even more of a surprise. So Jordan going in the 3rd round of the Dallas Cowboys. Jabril Peppers. I like Jabril Peppers to Cleveland. He was the 25th pick overall. He was the other Wolverine 1st rounder. 6.0 draft grade. And Jabril, I have a piece coming up on FanRag Sports. I believe it'll post Sunday morning. A lot of reasons why I like Jabril. I mean, the Browns aren't good, but I mean, if you're a rookie, if you're picked highly, and he was a 1st round pick, I mean, late 1st round pick, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a rookie, you're a 1st round pick, it doesn't matter where you are, you're probably going to be expected to contribute, you're probably going to want to contribute, and I've covered Jabril, I know he's an extreme competitor, so they could use help in the kick, punt and kick returns. They could use help on defense. They had like the worst total defense, or number 31 ranked overall. Last year, the total offense is like number 20, something like that. I mean, they're struggling. So I cite all kinds of statistics in this, and look at the kind of the pre-draft stuff as well. So look for that on FanRagSports.com and on Twitter at FanRag_U. Final guy who was drafted out of 11 players. 19 were eligible, 11 were drafted. Chris Wormley going in the 3rd round. I thought that Chris had actually 1st round potential. I thought that he could have been a day 1 guy, but he was not. But 3rd round, he goes to the Baltimore Ravens with the other Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. And now through all the undrafted free agents, like I mentioned, 19 eligible people, 11 were drafted. At my last count, Ben Braden was the only one that I hadn't had any information, and it's 11:34 on a Saturday night. So as of right now, I don't know. So he's the only one. It's 7 other guys, undrafted free agents. Kenny Allen, that one actually came to me. Kenny's brother Jimmy gave me a call. I know Kenny from when I was at the Flint Journal. And he was like a junior and a senior at Fenton High School, and his brother. And now they're both pro kickers, which is awesome. Kenny's a punter for the Baltimore Ravens. But he called me, let me know. Kenny got a call, I think, somewhere around the 250th pick from Baltimore. They wanted to make sure. And then Jimmy gave me a call and said, hey, this is what's happening. So congratulations to Kenny. He's very good friends with Chris Wormley, Jimmy told me. So there's some duos there, like Jordan and Taco and Dallas. And so I tweeted a lot of this, so at AdamBiggers81. And yeah, so congratulations, Kenny Allen, Fenton High School, going to the Baltimore Ravens. Matt Godin, another guy, Fenton, but he went to Detroit Catholic Central. He lived in Fenton. Matt Godin, 5th year guy. I use the word grinder all the time, and yeah, I know it's cliche and whatever. Matt Godin was that guy. You really have to respect him, especially the way that he waited his turn. I think that Matt had the ability, he probably could have transferred to another school. And this isn't anything that he's told me. This is stuff that I'm, from myself. So he stuck it out 5 years, and look what happened. In his final 2 years, Michigan won 20 games, went to 2 bowl games, won one of them, and he went from a reserve guy to, no one was even really looking at to being a contributor at Michigan. I always thought he could be, but I think for the most part at large, not a lot of people were looking at Matt Godin as anything but maybe a spot guy. He wasn't really going to evolve into anything, and look what happened. I think if you put him on a different Big Ten team in Michigan, this goes for a lot of guys. I said the same thing about Mike McCray, but if you put Matt Godin on another Big Ten team, at least half of them, he might be their best defensive lineman. So congratulations to Matt. He is going undrafted free agent, Houston Texans, Kyle Kalis. I read this one off of SB Nation, actually. Kyle Washington, undrafted free agent. Eric Magnuson, I was very surprised, and especially talking to Eric on Pro Day, and I've been in kind of touch and go correspondence with him a little bit. He seemed very positive, and again, this is from my end. This isn't anything that Eric told me, but I remember making a comment to him saying, if you're projected as a 3rd or 4th rounder, I had lunch with him at Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor, and he ate a bunch of food, much more than I did, and I remember telling him, hey, all these mock drafts have you as like a 3rd or 4th rounder. I think that, if my opinion means anything, I think you're a 3rd or 4th rounder, and he said that he hopes so, and I was surprised. I mean, I feel like a lot of the NFL mocks and NFL experts and everything. Furthermore, nobody on Michigan's offensive line was drafted. Kalis, undrafted free agent. Magnuson, undrafted free agent, going to San Francisco. And then again, Braden, as of right now, I don't know. But Magnuson was kind of the surprise. Jake Butt's drop was a surprise. Eric Magnuson not being drafted at all was also another surprise to me. And I guess that you could consider maybe Channing Stribling, but Channing, he going to Cleveland with Jabril, undrafted free as an undrafted free agent. Devion Smith, running back, he is going to Miami Dolphins, so where he played his last collegiate game in Miami. And I remember taking a picture of Devion. He had his hair up in like little braids and everything, and I remember all the guys talking about how Miami was beautiful, and that they enjoyed the city and everything by the water. So congratulations to him. He's with the Miami Dolphins. DeMonte Thomas, Denver, undrafted free agent. So that covers everybody. And sorry if I'm a little motor mouth. It's been a long day. So again, 19. Michigan entered this draft not only volume-wise, but quality-wise too. A lot of people were saying the Wolverines have the most talent, certainly volume-wise, entering this draft. There were like 14 guys invited to the combine. I figured probably 12 would get drafted. 11 ended up getting drafted. The record is 14 by Ohio State. But then you look at, and this all, as soon as the draft ended, this was when it got interesting, I think, because as soon as the draft ended, then you started seeing all these, someone's like, say a local, like such as myself, a local reporter who knows a guy. I know Kenny, so that came to me. I believe the same thing happened with the DeMonte Thomas thing. A local reporter from Ohio who probably covered DeMonte in high school got the word, and so on and so forth. Matt Godin did not call me, and I joked with him on Twitter, but I had messaged him and talked to him, through message after that, and he told me that he was excited. So, the undrafted free agent stuff was popping up in that way, and it seems like it was like one after another, and still 19-19. I know that that has a nice ring to it, but I think 11 draftees and 7 undrafted free agents has a very nice ring to it. Incredible draft day for incredible weekend for the Wolverines. Incredible 2017 draft. I'll have a lot of the post-draft stuff. I'll analyze, like I mentioned, the pairings and stuff. I'll mention that, but the piece that's coming out tomorrow about Jabril Peppers in Cleveland And I don't feel like I probably explained it that well tonight, but it's hopefully better written than that and a little bit more informative. But I do believe that there are some advantages of for Jabril going to Cleveland as far as an immediate start and seeing snaps. I don't believe that he's the type of guy that wants to just sit around and not do anything. So he's going to get his chance in Cleveland. I'll look at some other guys and see where there's a chance too. If you've paid attention to the Gregory news out of Dallas, defensive end, maybe another failed drug test. Maybe that creates an opportunity for Taco Charlton. I think Taco, I talked about this in the previous episode, Taco and Chris being, two of the best defensive linemen, and pass rusher wise, Taco Charlton to me is ideal. I don't know his measurements offhand, but I could tell you that he's huge. He's 6'7", long arms, very lean, athletic, everything that you want. So I think when you pair him with what Dallas has, it's a good situation. So I'll talk about some of those landing spots. I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, thanks to Keith and Tim and Ann Arbor, Mr. Spots, for keeping me fed every time I'm down there covering the Wolverines. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. FanRag Sports is at FanRag_U, FanRagSports.com. Check out the podcast at Mitten Sports-MI and SportsInTheMitten.com, where we have the audio version that you can just download or play directly off the site. And that's also in Google, iTunes, and other podcast search engines. And then you can watch the video, which is me right here, sitting in the spare room of my house, talking to my phone for however long I decide. So I decided it's been long enough. Thanks again for watching, and talk to you guys next time.